Hi team, welcome to the session on Coffee with Prab. And today we have a special guest, my friend, Mr. Shourya Pratap Singh. It is just like a
Hi,
dream
Pram.
comes true. Yeah. Hi Shourya, how are you?
Good, good, good.
Team, it is just a dreams comes true because I'm taking an interview of the expert, okay, who working for the company SquareX, and we know the who is the founder of the company. So, Shourya, it is honor for me. It is an honor for our channel to have SquareX on this particular YouTube session, and I'm sure after this video, my video's performance goes high. So before we basically start today's session, Shaurya, I want to know the company about SquareX and who is Shaurya Pratap.
Sure, sure, sure. So, as you have mentioned, most of the viewers might know about the founder of SquareX as well. So, SquareX is founded by Vivek Ramachandran, and he has been in the industry for over 20 years.
Mm,
He founded Pentester Academy before this, and it's now his second big venture after Pentester Academy.
mm,
Uh, he was involved in a lot of different cybersecurity related projects, and he also founded the Cafe Latte attack, which was one of the very
mm,
initial
mm,
wireless attacks that ever happened.
mm,
So uh, so it's a great I would say opportunity for me also to work closely with him in his second big venture.
mm,
Talking a bit about me, so I have been, programming from a very small age. Like I started programming when I was in fifth standard.
mm,
I've been making websites and, developing things and trying to break things since,
mm,
from the very, very, very early days.
mm,
Uh, Even during college, I had my own startup,
mm,
and I have worked in a variety of companies, varying
mm.
from, having my own food delivery company to
Oh
working with,
wow.
yeah, and then I even worked with a fintech for the last many years in India.
Mm, mm,
And with all of these learnings, what I've seen is that uh, often security becomes a big issue
mm,
because when you're dealing with the data from the customer, or let's say you are interacting with any service or any
mm,
endpoint,
mm,
uh, often people are not experts in this, and it often
mm,
creates a lot of problem because threat actors always come up with new ways to steal the data or take the account takeover and things like that. So
mm.
uh, so it's great, and I feel myself quite proud that now I'm working like entirely on a product which is completely cybersecurity, and with a person like Vivek.
So Shaurya, my before we basically start the session, I'm sorry to interrupt you here.
Yeah.
What is SquareX? We know about Pentest Academy, and
Yes.
Vivek sir is someone who basically, I'm sure those who are watching this video, those are pen testers, cybersecurity experts. Everyone knows about Vivek sir. And
Yes.
that is the guy is a myth, legend, and all that because he gave the idea about pen testing of wireless, okay,
Yeah.
using Kali and all that. So what this company all about, SquareX?
Sure. So, if we talk about the consumer market in particular,
Hmm,
uh, what's the very first cybersecurity product that comes to our mind is probably going to be just antiviruses, right? And if we talk about enterprises, there have always been products, evolving a lot. There have been, even in your previous videos, you have talked about, EDRs and XDRs, right? So things like that have been coming a lot on the enterprise side.
hmm,
But there is not much available for the normal public and the normal consumers.
hmm,
And these things often become way too complicated, especially, now in the enterprise setting, the work from home is becoming quite popular.
hmm.
And in the very same device, people are doing both their office work as well as their personal stuff. And that
Okay.
just creates more ways for threat actors to act.
Hmm,
So at SquareX, what we are trying to do is we are trying to create solutions which are available for any user, let it be an enterprise user, let it be a normal consumer, and provide the best experience to them uh, in a way that their productivity is not hampered. And at the
hmm.
same time, they can browse the internet quite fearlessly. So that's what we are trying to do.
Okay. So today, what is special in this particular coffee series?
Yeah. So today, actually, we are going to cover a little bit about the problems which exist right now on the internet
Hmm,
and what sort of makes people, not browse the internet quite fearlessly.
okay.
we'll talk a little bit on the tech side as well, as in,
Hmm.
how these actors act, what
Hmm.
is failing in the existing products,
Hmm.
what they can do to ensure like something that doesn't happen with them. So
Hmm.
it's sort of I would say like this session would be good enough for even people who are just starting off in the cybersecurity industry to the people who are working in enterprises. It's sort
Okay.
of a, very informative session in that sense.
That's great. And I'm sure the techniques, whatever you're going to apply in this
Yeah,
particular session, it can be very informative for the 2024 also.
yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
So ideally, who should watch this video?
This is actually good enough for anyone who
Hmm.
uses internet. So it sort of covers almost everyone who can actually because the risk is almost everywhere,
Hmm.
and not just the people who are in the cybersecurity industry, but it can be like a very small influencer or a very small, my parents, or
Hmm.
my teachers, anyone. So it will be quite helpful for all of them, and especially people who are in the cybersecurity industry like yourself. It will be quite helpful to get an idea of how the whole industry has progressed over time, what kind
Okay.
of problems started coming, and how people came up with solutions to sort of tackle them.
That's great. So without wasting a time, we can start the today's session then.
Sure,
Yeah,
absolutely,
I'll
absolutely.
give you the host rights.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So I think best way to start this would be to talk a little bit about the rising threats which are happening on the internet.
Hmm.
As you can see on my screen, there are a lot of different references from different websites, news channels, as you can see here, right?
Hmm.
Uh, there are of course a lot of them, but I've just handpicked a few of them to give an idea.
Hmm.
Uh, there are a lot of scams going on nowadays, especially since it's holiday season, people are
Hmm.
looking for offers, trying to apply coupon codes on different websites, getting a lot of e-commerce things. And of course, when you're in the company, something like, a business account takeover, or something like, someone trying to impersonate your senior executive is also becoming quite common.
Hmm.
So a lot of scams happening both on the enterprise side as well as for the normal users. And
Okay.
these articles are just very good examples of them. Uh,
So before we basically start this part, I'm sure
yeah,
some of the folks are new to this particular industry and all that. So could you
yeah,
clarify on the part of what is threat and
sure.
what basically triggers this particular threat, if it's okay with you?
Sure.
Hmm.
So, a very layman definition of threat would be anything that can act malicious for you, right? Like, for
Okay.
example, anything that can steal your data, anything that can affect your computer, anything that can affect any information on your computer without
Hmm.
your own consent. So
Okay.
that I think is a very layman definition of what a threat could be.
So
And
if I'm watching something and my wife asks my phone to
yeah.
check something, so it's a threat for me. And if she finds
I mean, I
something,
mean, I
there's
mean,
impact.
that's like one way to say it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I have to make sure, the explanation should be so simple so people can understand.
Yeah, it's actually there's a good analogy, I
Yeah,
would say.
that's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, if we talk about different ways in which, these threat actors, or the people who basically, create these threats act,
Hmm.
is they basically reach out through three major ways. So
Okay.
one way, they often send you some malicious file. It can be sent through an airdrop. They can be sent over Bluetooth. The second way is they often send you emails. So they might be trying to do something which is called social engineering, which is, trying to say or convince you in a way to do something wrong without you intently trying to do something like that. So email is one way. And the third way is a URL. So they will often share with you a link that you will be asked to click, right? So as
Okay.
you can see on this particular slide, I've put in a lot of examples. It will take too much time to go through each and
Hmm.
every one of them. But if I just point out one particular here, which is from Linus Tech Tips, which is a very quite popular YouTuber, and his account was actually deleted and taken over very recently. So this video was just 9 months before.
And he's a techie
And
guy.
yeah, exactly. And he's a technical guy. And
Okay.
it actually happened because of, I would say, a lack of awareness in his team.
Hmm.
Because whenever, you grow big, you work with a lot of people. And it often happens that, a lot of people reach out to you, saying like, let's maybe do this event or something like that. And they often share you some malicious files.
Hmm.
So in
Hmm.
his case, what happened was that a person shared over an email a file to one of the employees,
Hmm.
and basically opened that file, and
Hmm.
that stored all the cookies from the browser. and they
Oh,
got admin access to the YouTube, and they ran a big Bitcoin scam from their YouTube channel, which had like a very huge following. So
oh,
it's a very good example of a very recent case where, just a lack of awareness led to something like this.
man. You have to be very, you have to be very cautious, because even you're delegating someone's accounts to someone else, make sure you should
Right.
run with a limited privilege and all that. Okay.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Yeah. So, if I talk about the internet in the early 2000s,
Hmm.
things like it was completely an era of desktop software. So
Hmm.
people were just starting off with using computers,
Hmm.
and at that time what threat actors usually used to do was they used to make viruses
Hmm.
and softwares which will either slow down your computer, or
Hmm.
keep replicating files, or because internet was not such a big thing at that time, it was quite new.
Hmm.
So the way uh, companies and the way individuals could actually protect themselves was through a software called antivirus,
Hmm.
right? And the way antivirus worked was that it will look for certain signatures in a file. It will look
Hmm.
for the way in which a file is trying to interact with your system.
Hmm.
And then they will try to identify, if there is something malicious in it. So this worked actually quite well in that era. But, like we discussed before, today's world is quite different. We have a lot of, SaaS products. We have a lot of things on cloud. And a newer generation of attacks are now there because the whole surface area is quite increased now. Some people are using some applications from mobile phone. Some people are using it from computers, right?
Hmm.
And then there are so many different softwares. You have your AWS, GCP, and endless myriad of things that you have right now. So all these actors have been creating very creative, I would say, attacks that can cover a way larger areas. And that's where, like you mentioned in your previous videos, something like EDR or an XDR comes into play because they
Hmm.
do sort of, analysis on how different things are working. And then they try to identify at an endpoint level that how things can go wrong, right? So if you know, I have to talk.
Shaurya, before I continue
Yeah,
this
yeah.
topic, there is a one myth I want to burst here is antivirus provide 100% security?
Yeah, actually, that's a very good point. No, it doesn't.
Okay. So
Yeah,
can we say without human intelligence, you cannot secure your systems, no
you
matter
cannot.
you
You
have a
cannot.
best solution in this market?
Exactly, exactly. And even human make mistake.
Hmm.
So nothing is like 100% in this
But-
world.
So if this video is watched by those people who new to the IT, new to the
Yeah,
computers,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
what is the advice for them when they buy antivirus, or how to optimize antivirus? Because sometimes what happened, too much antivirus slow down the systems. So
That's
what is your
exactly.
last minute point? What is the important suggestion you want to give to the viewers who watching this video?
I would say, having something like antivirus would help up to some certain extent
Hmm.
because they definitely scan and find files, which might act something malicious.
Hmm.
But even though you have something like an antivirus, it's
Hmm.
very important that you are always focused on what you're doing inside the computer because internet is a very risky world, right?
Hmm.
So as long as you're taking small precautions, like let's say I've never interacted with you before and you send me an email
Hmm.
with some file attached. I should be very careful, even if my antivirus says, that this file is clean enough.
True.
Because like you just mentioned, antivirus cannot be relied 100%.
True.
So and it's not very easy for any individual to have like a complicated system, like a virtual machine where they'll put that file inside and analyze if it's good enough. And it's not very convenient also. So for any normal internet user, I would say, always be suspicious. There's a term that we call in cybersecurity called zero trust, right? I would say zero trust would apply very well here. So you should never trust any other party. And
No trust
whenever
but
you
verify.
exactly, exactly. So there should be a zero trust mall running on your own brain every
Hmm.
time you're taking a decision on the internet.
Okay. Thanks, Shaurya.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, as you can see here, nowadays the attacks are a lot very different because there are malicious scripts, there is credential leak, there are zero-day attacks,
Hmm.
lot of fancy terms, but they all mean, those three ways in which they basically try to come to you. They come to you through links, they come to you through emails, or they come to you through files.
Hmm.
Now, I think the first part we'll just look a little bit on files and
Hmm.
how antivirus analyze them and
Hmm.
how really, is a better solution to actually protect yourself against them.
Okay.
So if we talk about antiviruses, I think this illustration shows it very well. Like a
Hmm.
lot of files are coming in, and an antivirus is basically picking those files looking at certain signatures and trying to place them around in different boxes, right? So what will happen is that they often will pick some file which might be malicious and still put it in a safe way, right? Because it's completely probabilistic. They look at signatures, and if it is something very new or the way they have obfuscated or made it complex enough, they might not always catch it. That's why no antivirus or no other solution can give you a 100% guarantee that you are secure from those files. Because it's just gonna look at the way the file is interacting or look at the way the signature of the file looks like or the way the code is written to actually place it into different things. Of
Okay.
course, a lot of advancements are happening now in the industry where they're even using AI now,
Hmm.
looking at different content inside the file, trying to see
Hmm.
the pattern and see like if it matches with any previous campaign that has happened. But as the internet grows, new software is coming. Always there are ways to evade these things and come
Hmm.
up with something new.
Hmm.
And like coming back to the example I mentioned earlier of that YouTuber receiving that email,
Hmm.
the way all these probabilistic model work is like let's say you find a file. Uh, what do I want to do with this file? I want to open this, right? That's what an end user wants. So if let's say they mark a file as suspicious, they will simply block it. They
Hmm.
will not allow you to open that file. And that's where the problem arises, because if you don't open the file, you lose your productivity, you lose your business, because it
Hmm.
might actually be something good, right? Because similar to how they cannot guarantee a file is suspicious, they also cannot guarantee the file is safe, right? So it's both ways, right? The second thing is that if you ignore the warning and you say like, still I take the risk and I open this file, if it was actually something wrong, it might affect your computer. So whatever action you take, it either affects your business or it either affects your productivity or either affects your computer, right? So this sort of gives a very, a view on how, what kind of problems the current softwares have because they simply block it for you, right? Now, like, these are just examples where, the productivity is hampered and a lot of different softwares are just saying, like this page is too dangerous for you. You should not go ahead with it and something like that. And it often happens productivity business at the same time,
Hmm.
if you ignore this, it might affect you, right?
Hmm.
So I think better way to look at this would be looking at a demo. So
Hmm.
let me actually show you an actual malware and see, how different scanners work around it and how you can actually open it quite safely.
And this is basically only for education purpose. Okay.
Exactly, exactly. That's just entirely for education
Yeah.
purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you able to see my Gmail screen?
Yeah. Hope
Great,
it is
great.
not your personal email ID.
No, it's not.
And then it's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you can see here, I have a Excel file sent over here by one of my teammates,
Hmm.
and this actually is a malicious file.
Hmm.
Now, any normal end user, if they receive an Excel file, they will
Hmm.
often rely on what a scanner on Gmail does for them, right? So it
Hmm.
says like scanned by Gmail, right?
Hmm.
And it brings a very, confidence to them, like, okay, Gmail has said that this file is cool. That means, nothing can affect my computer, right?
Hmm.
But that's exactly the whole point of this different files that we discussed, right? Like you cannot 100% rely on it.
Hmm.
Just to save time, I already uploaded this file to a website called Virus Total. This is usually used by cybersecurity experts to look at,
Hmm.
how different scanners react to a given file. So as you can see, this malicious file was detected by only 4 providers out of 61.
Okay.
And that sort of explains the problem, right? Because it's all probabilistic.
Hmm.
You can see like, a lot of companies here and they're just saying undetected, undetected. And some are saying like, it might be a Trojan, right?
Hmm.
And that's what the whole point is. You can't literally have all the antivirus softwares in the world installed on your computer, right?
Hmm.
It might slow down your computer. So of course having an antivirus helps, but it can only help up to a certain level. It will
Okay.
not be something you can 100% rely on. And this proves the point because all the models are probabilistic in nature.
Hmm.
Now, let's say, I'm a person who works on cybersecurity and I really want to see what the file is, right? So, how do a person like me usually do? So, what I will do is I will probably create something called as a virtual machine
Hmm.
where I will install an OS, which will be completely segregated from my computer. And then I will execute this file inside that environment so that anything that goes wrong inside the virtual machine, but does not affect my own computer. Now, setting up something like that is really complicated because
Okay.
you need to have a little bit of tech knowledge on how virtual machines work. And it also takes a bit of hassle because you have to get the OS installed, set it up, and if something goes wrong, you again have to restore the previous point and things like that. And often, these malicious files react very differently on very different operating systems, right?
True.
So the whole array of having these things just makes it very complicated.
Hmm.
And for a very normal user, what they want to do is they simply want to view a file, right? They don't care whether it's malicious or not. They just want to view the file. But at
Hmm.
the same time, they have to make sure that they're secured enough.
Hmm.
So just to show you what this file can do, I have a virtual machine already open on my computer. Okay, so you can see this is a Windows machine, right?
Hmm.
And I have an Excel file, the very same file here. And if I
Hmm.
double click on this, it opens it on the Office software. You can see something just popped up in the middle, right?
Yeah.
And most people will think like this is like a update which is happening in Excel, right? But it actually was a macro, which is, a way in which people write some scripts on top of Excel. It's quite popular in banking industry where people do a lot of their work inside Excel files, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And they write scripts to automate the process, but malicious actors just use it in a very bad way. So you can see, like nothing happened, all looks all good to me, right?
Hmm.
But the moment I click on top individual, this will basically trigger that particular file, and there's a ransomware here now, right? So this is just a very small example of how that file was dangerous enough, and only 4 people were able to find something like this. Of
So,
course, again, just to point out, this is just for demonstration purpose. We all are learning here, so this is just to show you how things are. Yeah, you were saying something.
no, no, I was surprised.
Yeah, I mean this proves the point entirely, right? Like you cannot trust the scanners completely. Only 4 detected out of 61, and that proves the point.
Now, if I see from a user perspective, right,
Yeah, yeah,
like this basically one, it encrypt the file and all that,
yes,
whatever. Okay.
yes.
Now, my pointer is basically here is as a user, okay,
Mhm.
I need to open the file. So, example, there is a possibility I spoof Shourya Pratap email ID and we use SMTP
Yes,
relay and send an email to team members.
yes,
That is possible.
yes, yes,
We used to say that, okay, for ransomware, the only solution is backup.
yes, that's right.
No one talk about the things which can able to block. They only talk about the things which has happened post incident. Now, in this
Exactly.
kind of a situation, as a user, okay, you
Mhm.
will
Mhm.
definitely click on the tabs and that way the trigger happen. So
Exactly.
any solution which you work on or reviewing things, which can able to block such kind of a things. Do you have any pointers for the people who watching this video?
Yeah, I mean, like I've mentioned before, it's very important that they always have zero trust running on their brain. So if you get a certain type of file from any individual
Hmm.
who has never really sent you that kind of file, they should always
Hmm.
be suspicious. Like let's say, you have never sent me an Excel file before, so I should be very careful about it.
Hmm.
Now,
But
like
but someone has basically spoofed the email ID, na? Example, like, there
exactly,
is a possibility
exactly.
that, okay, I spoof Shaurya email ID
Yeah,
and
yeah,
send an email uh, to Shaurya friend. So friend
yes,
thought, okay,
yes,
it is a mail came from Shaurya.
exactly,
In that
exactly.
case, how can we overcome then?
So in this, there are 2 ways to deal with this.
Hmm.
One way is like, looking at the content, right? Because let's say you have never sent me an Excel file before, although I know you and you have
Hmm.
never really sent an Excel file to me.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
should be a little suspicious on it, right? And the second way is that if I get a file, I always try to use a very safe viewer. So as you can see here, even in the Gmail itself, if you click on attachment here, it gives you a small overview of what the file is, right?
Hmm.
So as long as you're not downloading it and just looking at the file, I think it is safe enough because it's opening in a Google Sheet viewer, right?
Hmm.
And it isn't actually downloading on your computer, running anything malicious. However, there are restriction on this viewer, like you cannot have a file which is very large opened up here. And of
Hmm.
course, some styling, etc., might get lost when you're opening in this view.
And
So,
if they're going to click on the top individual now, will it
yeah.
activate the trigger during that time?
So for this specific file, no, it won't,
Hmm. But do
because yeah, in this specific file, it won't because this is using macros, and macros are disabled by default in Google Sheet. So here it won't. But the moment I download this and open it, yes, it will.
okay, so it's a very important tips for everyone who watching this video
Yes,
that, okay,
yes.
whenever you receive any file, if this video is watched by CISOs, CIOs, security consultant, when you're driving a security awareness session, this point you can add in your awareness session. And thank you, Shaurya, for bringing this point. Thank you so
Yes.
much.
Yeah, yeah. So, like I mentioned, there are, of course, some restrictions here because,
Mm,
you cannot always preview every file here.
mm,
Like, for example, let's say someone sends you an MKV file,
mm,
which is right now becoming quite popular
mm.
in the industry for, sending files of which are video files, right? So there are certain extensions which the Google viewer might not support. So to tackle these problems, you can rely on a sandbox environment. And that's exactly where something like SquareX comes into play.
Okay.
So let's say, I simply go to the Chrome store and I install the SquareX extension.
How much
This
it is charged?
Right now it's entirely free, and
Oh,
that's the
wow.
best part. Yeah, yeah. So what we want right now is like people to start using it, try it out, be fearless on the internet. And right now it's entirely free. So we won't charge you anything for it.
Okay. It's like it's like a plugin, you mean to say?
Exactly, exactly. So
Okay. Can you
it's
can you
it's
can you
actually a
yeah,
plugin.
yeah. Can you just
Yeah.
show that demo, small demo of that?
Sure, sure, sure. So let's say, I go to the SquareX website. There's an
Mm,
option called Add SquareX to Chrome.
mm.
The moment you click on this will basically take you to the Chrome store if you have not installed the extension. But in my case, I already have it installed, so it's basically visible here. But I can also go to, the Chrome store and let's say, I have this SquareX extension here. I will just click on this button called Add to Chrome, and this
Mm,
will install the extension on my browser.
mm.
The moment I install this, a small icon like this, the puzzle icon, will appear,
Okay.
and you will see the list of extensions. Like, you can see I have some 4 extensions installed here. I can
Mm.
just click on this button to basically pin this here. And
Okay.
the moment you click on here, it will show you the view with the 4 features that we have: the disposable browser, file viewer, email, and smart integrations.
Okay.
So now coming back to, opening this file in a viewer. So the very simple way you can do this with SquareX is you just go back, you right click here, click on open in SquareX and choose, let's say, Singapore. So now what this will do is this will create a cloud session, which is a very secured container on which a lot of productivity softwares like, your Office, your even a VLC media player is inside, where you can literally play any video files that you want. And it will stream that file to that particular cloud environment and that particular cloud session and open that file for you. So as you can see, the file is completely visible to me. And unlike the Google's viewer, this sort of supports almost every extension that you can think of, any productivity extension that you can think of. And it has no real size restriction. So as long as you have good internet, you can even put a 1 GB file here and it will open it. And as you can see, this is a Linux-based environment. So the demo that I showed you was actually made for a Windows machine. So it will not execute here. But even if it was something made for Linux, it will just affect this particular cloud session, but will not affect your computer. And that's the whole point. That you are secured enough, and in a very deterministic way, you can open a malicious file.
Okay. So now if we did click on the triggers and all that, if
Yeah,
suppose
yeah,
it's a Windows environment, whatever. So in that
yes.
case, will it execute the trigger in this particular cloud environment? What
It
exactly?
will. It will.
Okay.
It will
Okay.
trigger. And
Okay.
whatever gets affected will
Hmm.
be inside this cloud environment, not on your computer.
Okay. Now my
And
concern here is basically like, sorry, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, you can continue. Then I will discuss my question.
yeah, sure, sure, sure. So yeah, the moment it will affect it, it will only affect this particular cloud session. It will not
Hmm.
affect your computer. And the only thing you will have to do is go here and dispose it off. The moment you click on dispose, the whole session will get deleted. And
Okay.
another interesting part here is that the internet is cut off on this environment. So even if someone actually, had a file which was getting downloaded from a remote system, it will
Hmm.
not get triggered here because we have this whole environment with the internet cut off. So the
Okay.
chances are already low in that sense.
Hmm.
And even if it happens, the whole file was, let's say, packaged with the file. In
Hmm.
that case, it will only affect this environment.
So my question here is basically like, as you know, data privacy has become more concerns nowadays.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
if it is my medical reports or something like
Yeah,
that, how
yeah,
can we trust this cloud? Because we're opening
yeah,
our files in this cloud, which is managed by SquareX and all that.
yeah, yeah,
What is
yeah.
an assurance? What is the policies the SquareX has regarding data protections?
So, firstly, we do, this is something that I can say very bluntly here. We do not store any files. So whatever files you are sending here goes directly from your computer to this cloud session. So we just create the cloud session and the file gets streamed directly there. Now, the other part is like, we are a very security first company, and everyone have been working a lot on creating secured containers.
Hmm.
And that is something where we have our expertise in. So we have put a lot of effort to make sure this is very secure. And
Okay.
being a security first company, even before launching the SquareX product, we had a bug bounty program, something which people do it reverse. They create a product, they release it, and then they do a bug bounty. But we did it exactly reverse. We did the bug bounty first. We created a big pool of money and asking people to come in and try to break the system. And and luckily, we did not find any big issues here. There was literally zero issue where people were able to break out from their container session to anything outside. And we
Okay.
regularly work on making it as secure as possible.
Okay.
So, as you know, like I mentioned, we do not store anything. Whatever is there stays, of course, in the memory because it's running in a container. But the moment you click on dispose, or as you can see here, there's even a timer running here, right? So this
Okay.
timer basically goes for a certain period, and the moment this timer gets over, the whole container get deleted. And the moment it get deleted, of course, anything which was in the memory will also go away.
That's great. So I think this can be the turning factor in 2024 because as you can
Yeah.
see, the lot of attacks, even it's a ransomware, internal data breach and all that, it has happened because of the internal threats. And I think somehow 90% this solution can able to address that.
Exactly, exactly. And it's a very easy way also. You don't really
Hmm.
have to install any complicated virtual machines and things like that. It's
Hmm.
quite convenient. Just right click and you open and you have your own session, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
So apart from that, we have a tool definitely like that. What is the other advice you want to give to the people, to the folks who are security guys and if they want to investigate some malwares, if they want to investigate, so example, we have website called Virus Total. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So it give you the high level information about, not just for a second, they don't have a
Mm.
SquareX and tomorrow SquareX become paid and they don't have a budget to pay that example. So in that case, how to overcome this issue?
Okay. So I think, it's very important for them to, since they're dealing with a lot of malicious file, it's
Hmm.
quite important for them to not open those files directly on their computer, however the hassle it is, right?
Hmm.
It's always, good to, avoid that. And if they
Hmm.
want to do such an analysis, they should always do it in a sandbox environment, whether it is SquareX or whether it is, any kind of VM. It's always good to have those files run in there and then
Hmm.
observe patterns.
And if the
Because
laptop is not configured with any computations and all that, because to run the virtualizations and all that required configurations. So in that
exactly, exactly.
case, so in that case,
In that case also, something like SquareX will help because you don't really have to put any complicated configurations. But if you want to do it on your machine, of course, you would need a bit of knowledge, understanding how virtual machines work, understanding what kind of configurations they need to do, not like, simple download, open, and just trust that it's all secured because that's not how the world works, right?
hmm, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So any last minute advice, last minute pointer you want to share with the people, how to stay
No,
safe?
no, I think that's it about the files. But I
Okay.
would want to come back a bit on the URL and
Okay.
the
Sure.
and the email part. Yeah.
Sure.
So explained, opening a particular file in a sandbox environment is always good and it's quite
Hmm.
convenient with something like SquareX. But let's say you get a URL, and it might actually happen. Like, let's say, for example, I have an email here which contains some link. Now, it looks like Facebook support, but if you watch it closely, it's not really Facebook support. It's some different domain entirely, right?
Hmm.
And that's the problem. Most people won't read it very properly, right? And it becomes quite important because of course phishing is a big problem and people have to be quite aware about how people can uh, impersonate big websites.
Hmm.
But one big problem that people often don't talk about is even malicious JavaScript. So it might happen that you open a website and it triggers a software on your computer,
Hmm.
and it actually has happened. So there was a CV on Google Chrome, which was like last 1 year back, and it actually allowed people to open a software like calculator on your computer just by JavaScript running on the computer. So it
Okay.
basically was someone actually found a flaw in the memory management of Chrome, and they exploited it to actually execute a software on your computer, which is quite crazy. You assume that if you open any website on your browser, it just secures you, but attackers just keep on finding creative ways to make it complicated for you. So, having something like a sandbox environment for opening suspicious link is also quite important. And as a cybersecurity individual, often you have to see how a website performs on different geographies.
Hmm.
Because nowadays, it often happens that a campaign is focused on, let's say, India, and they're just gonna make the website available on India. But if you open the very same website from Singapore, it will take you to some affiliate marketing link, right? So it might happen. So as a person who is analyzing these links, at the same time, the normal user, if they get it on an email, it's quite it's always a good thing to open it in a sandbox environment. And for that also, having something like SquareX might help. So you have, let's say, different locations available here. So let's say, I want to open this link and see how it actually looks in Singapore. So I can just go here and click on Singapore. So what will happen is that it will spin up a session in Singapore
Hmm.
and create a small Chrome inside it and then open this page. So you can see that this particular page is 404 right now. So
Hmm.
probably someone sent this before, having some fake page, but right now the page is unavailable, right? So something like that can happen, right? And if I do any kind of browsing here, you can see like this is a browser within a browser, right? So
Hmm.
if I search for anything here, this will basically come directly from Singapore. So the IP address which is visible to the websites you're visiting from here will be of Singapore. And if, let's say, I open something in Australia, I can actually go back, choose this link, and also open this and see how it looks in Australia, right?
Okay.
And it is quite convenient if you really want to see, how a website performs in different locations. And typically, some people often use softwares like VPN to do these
Exactly.
kind of analysis, right? So I'll come to that, a little bit later on how what kind of threats even something like VPN might have. But coming back here, uh, like it's again the same as it was with the disposable file viewer, where wherever you open a file, that file will just execute, or that website will just execute inside this cloud environment and will not really affect your own computer, and no cookies, no history, etc. is present inside this browser, which is inside this session, right? So you are quite secured in the sense of not really giving an opportunity to any malicious site to steal that from you as well.
And that can be the important turn point, because otherwise we have to depend a lot on the VPN proxies and all that to
Yes, yes,
access those pages and all that, and the traffic is passed from multiple server. We are not sure about how secure is that.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a very great point. Yeah.
Exactly. And there's also convenience here. Like you can literally have two tabs in different countries and see at the same time how it's performing. But unlike if you have a VPN, all the traffic on your computer is going through one thing, right? So it's quite convenient in that sense as well. Yeah. So now since we have talked a bit about URLs and files, let's talk a little bit about enterprises as well. So a lot of breaches have happened recently, and these are just examples where a lot of data breaches have happened. And if I talk about some very recent ones, like I have this article open on my computer, which is from Okta.
Hmm.
So Okta, is a very popular company, right? And so this article was actually published this November by their head of security. And what happened was, just to give a small summary to the viewers, so someone actually sent a file to one of the employees on their personal account, right? And that personal account was actually opened on their work machine. And that created a problem because someone got access to their support system. And when they got access to their support system, whichever company sent them an explanation of what kind of problems they are facing, they often share logs with them, right? So the threat actor was able to get access to all the logs of different companies, which is quite scary because you are trusting on a company, but the company also has to make sure that every employee is aware about things like that, because even it can happen with big cybersecurity companies as well, right? So,
Agree.
as you can see, this article talks about how they identified that an employee had signed into their personal Google profile on their Chrome browser on Okta managed laptop. And this sort of proves the point, right? And like I mentioned before, when you have, working both personal and work on the same computer, it just creates a lot of ways for malicious actors to act, right?
And I agree on this point also.
Hmm.
As a user, it is always um as a user, we have to save our username password on the locations.
Yes,
I
yes.
believe so.
Yeah.
So according to that, it's a common thing which is happen.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. And it's very important that a person is aware enough about this,
Hmm.
because the biggest problem nowadays is you are using your personal computer and your work stuff on the very same machine. And often, a lot of tools which are in the enterprises just focus on how to keep the work system secured or keeping the work website secured. But no one really talks about, if you actually open something malicious from a personal website, then it can actually steal data from the very same computer, right?
Agree.
And that's a big issue, and that's a huge issue. So one actually good way to actually deal this is just to, as a precaution, never really download any personal file on your computer, because the moment you put something malicious on your computer, you're giving a huge privilege to that file to execute and take over your computer. So like I've showed before, if you get an email from your travel agency, let's say you're planning your holidays, you're going out, you get some PDF file, it's always good to just see the preview on the mail itself. No
Hmm.
need to actually download it. And even if you have to download that file, open it in a sandbox environment. So you can actually have something like SquareX, installed. And then that way you can simply open it in a disposable file viewer and just keep your work computer secured enough.
Okay.
Now, coming back to the point, since I mentioned about, having something like SquareX in the work environment, it might happen that certain browsers have restriction on having installing an extension.
Hmm.
So for people also who are not comfortable with installing extension, there is also an option where they can actually use all these features on our web app.
Okay.
So web app has exactly the same view. You simply have to log in and you have all the controls here. So you don't really have to install the extension. You can actually create a session from here itself.
Hmm.
You can just click on open, and you can go back to your disposable file viewer and access things here. You can upload more files here as well. So it's convenient in that sense because you don't really have to install the extension as well. The only difference is that, of course, when you have the extension installed, you get the option to right click, right? And that's
Okay.
the only reason we have the extension, because if there is no option for right click, it just becomes a little of hassle, right? Like you have to open it and then upload the file manually. So it's
True.
sort of easy in that sense that you get a context menu, right? Yeah. So, as we have talked a little bit around, segregation of work and how, companies are acting, let's come back to the point that we were discussing earlier, which is VPNs, right?
Hmm.
So, if I have to give a very layman description of VPN, whenever you are visiting a website through VPN, all your traffic gets encrypted and goes through the VPN servers. That's how most of the VPNs work.
Hmm.
But the problem is, like, even if you're browsing something, that file, even though encrypted, still comes to your computer, right? So it's a very big myth that you are secure from the internet just because you're using something like VPN, because that's not really true. The only thing you are saving yourself from is probably not revealing your IP address, or not allowing anyone to snoop in between what you're trying to do. But still, it does not protect you from opening any malicious website. You are still equally vulnerable for all these things.
True.
And there are cases where people have installed softwares which often steal cookies from their computer, like we saw for that other YouTuber before, right? And it's quite dangerous because it still provides a big risk, and you can't really trust on anything entirely. So it's always it's nothing bad in using VPN, as long as you are you want to have a browsing which is more privacy friendly, but it's not security friendly. If you want to do something security friendly, you need to have something like an antivirus software which protects you from files. Or
Hmm.
if you're in an enterprise environment, you need like an XDR or an EDR system. Or if you're a normal individual, you can actually use something like SquareX, because you can open that file or a URL in that disposable environment and not really affecting your own computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's basically like a ephemeral storage, which is basically open for the temporary reason and temporary purpose, and it can get the task done.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
especially for opening any suspicious link, even though you're using a VPN, I think something like SquareX could actually accompany it as a different product, because they can just open the malicious files or malicious link or suspicious link in something like SquareX at the same time using their existing VPN solutions. So it's not really a replacement in a way, but I would say it basically accompanies you to be a little bit more protected and deterministic way.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah. Now, the last thing I would want to cover in this is going to be a bit on email trackers. So
Hmm.
since we have touched a bit of security, I think it's also important we cover a little bit on
Email
privacy.
tracker. Hmm.
Yeah. So, email trackers have existed for quite some time. People are getting a lot creative now. What happens is that, let's say you send an email to someone, you can use a software like MailTrack, and in that software, you can actually have a particular image embedded in the bottom.
Hmm.
And what happens is that if you have an image embedded in the bottom, the moment other person opens that link, the other person gets notified that you've actually read the email,
Yeah.
which is,
So
I think,
breach of
against the
privacy.
privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not WhatsApp where you have like two ticks, right? I mean, you don't want people to know if you have actually read the email, because that's the whole point, right? So protection against that is also something people are not aware of, and they often leak information on whether they have read the email or not. And I'll tell you how we can actually protect ourselves from something like that. So if you're using Gmail, or let's say in your company you're using Google Workspaces, so you
Hmm.
will often be using something like the Gmail client, right? So in the Gmail client, Google is actually quite good in that sense. So what they do is that if they found some email to be suspicious, they will place it under the spam folder.
Hmm.
And if they place something in the spam folder, by default, all the attachments and all the images will be blocked externally.
True.
So it is quite good in that sense, because you are protected against that. But again, it's a probabilistic model, right? If they have not classified it as spam, you are still vulnerable,
Hmm.
because as you can see in this particular email, although I've opened this before, but let's say I have not read this, for example. Okay, I've marked it as unread. So it will appear like this to me, right? With the
Hmm.
bold.
Hmm.
And I'm relying here entirely on Gmail on whether it has classified this as a spam or not.
Hmm.
So this actually contains a tracker, but Gmail has not really tagged it. Reason being, this email was actually sent by another Gmail ID.
Hmm.
So generally, if it's a new Gmail ID, they will of course not flag it as a spam, right? So the problem with this is, if I open this email, whoever the sender was will get an information that you have actually read the email.
Hmm.
Now, how do I secure myself against that? So in the settings of Gmail, there is actually an option using which you can configure that do not load any external images. So if you put that on, all the images on any of the particular page will just not load,
Okay.
which somehow protects you. But the issue is that sometimes you really want to see the images, right?
Hmm.
And and you cannot selectively choose which email I want to load without
Yes.
images.
Agree.
And it's a hassle. You can't just go and keep changing setting every time, right? So with that also, something like SquareX can help. So let's say I right click here, I will see additional option called preview
Okay.
and enhanced privacy mode. Now this feature, of course, requires extension. So you need to have the extension installed. It's not available in a web app. So when you click on this, what will happen is that it will create a local Chrome extension page. So none of your email actually goes to any of the server or any cloud environment.
Okay.
It happens completely locally on your own browser.
Hmm.
And what it does is that it takes the content of that email
Hmm.
and puts it in a new tab and switches off the internet here. So on this particular email, you can see, like, I can see all the text which is written here, but the internet is cut off, so the image did not load.
Okay.
If I go back and I click, and you can see, I've although opened the email, even Gmail doesn't know that I've read it. It's still showing as unread, right? But when I click on this, you can see that there was a double tick here. So the other person has actually got notified of the fact that I've opened this email. Now, like I mentioned before, we can rely on just images being blocked, but of course, the threat actors can create newer ways to actually, track you. They can even have like an external font, or they can find some exploit in the way SVG is embedded in HTML, right?
True.
So they can always come up with new ways just to make that email trackable. So a very deterministic way to avoid that is just to switch off the internet, right?
Hmm.
And you cannot just switch off the internet and read email at the same time. So this is why this particular page helps, because this cuts off the internet and opens the content of the page. So whatever new ways people are coming with, no remote server can actually get information that you've opened something, and that's quite convenient.
So I must say there's a lot of research has been done before the
Yes.
solution was introduced, because they talk about complete 360 view of
Yeah.
end user security, because I truly appreciate the to the research team behind the solution. They really put a lot of hard work. I must say that.
Yeah, we have
And the
worked a lot hard.
and
We have
best thing
worked
is it
really
is
hard on
free
this.
right now.
Yes,
I will
yes.
definitely try in my browser, and I will
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
share the feedback about that. And those who are watching this video, I think, see, there's a name already. This is not a promotional video. This is a informative video where, we are showing you the new perspective of the end user desktop, end user security. And I must say this can be the game changer. I must say that.
Yeah, we hope so. We hope so. And also just to mention one more thing. So let's say you go to a website and you're
Hmm.
signing up. Often people put up their own email addresses, and
Hmm.
that sort of creates a big vector because people reveal their email addresses on different websites and they start getting spams. And often these things get leaked. Like if I talk a little bit back, few like many years back when I was starting my engineering in India. I actually went to few exams, and in that there are often people outside who ask for your different details, right? And I often put my email there, and then I will keep getting emails from different parties, right? And it's quite scary because I literally gave email to that testing agency, not to the people in the world, right? And that's a big problem. So one creative way I used to handle this, and I would also ask our audiences to do that, is if even if you're actually revealing your email address, you can put something interesting to track if someone has actually leaked your email. So let's say my email is, for example, abc@gmail.com.
Hmm.
So what I can do is I can give my email as abc plus something at gmail.com. Now this email will actually work. If someone sends you an email on this, it will still end up on abc@gmail.com. But adding that plus something will let you know who actually leaked that email. So
Okay.
let's say that party leaked it to some other party. That other party, if sent you that email with the plus something, that means they actually leaked it. So it's actually a quite funny way to track.
No, but that's a very good way. It's a very good technique. I'm sure,
Yeah, yeah.
because I personally use this method and it was really
Hmm.
worked well, and I can able to show him easily, why the hell you
Yes.
have shared my email ID with others. But that's a
Exactly,
that's a
exactly.
very important one. Yeah, I must
Yeah,
say.
yeah, yeah. So, one other way to completely avoid that is to use something like a disposable email. So
Hmm.
even within SquareX, we provide this funny email, like, something
Oh,
at
okay.
imcourageous.com. You also have an option to choose out of a lot of different funny domains that we have, like Tom or Jerry, Just Zeus, or Typing Squirrel, something. You can put your own custom name as well. And let's say I go to a website and I want to sign up. There, I can simply copy this and use this email there.
Oh,
And
okay.
whenever I receive that email, it will come into this inbox. And once I'm done with my work, I can simply go ahead and regenerate this. So regeneration will basically delete all my previous emails and give me a new handle. So that way I can have like a disposable email running as well, and I don't really have to even bother my inbox with getting those emails as well. So
Not
yeah,
everyone
I
is
mean,
comfortable actually, seeing multiple
yes,
mails on the mailbox. So that can be the good important practice, the people
yes.
can follow.
Yes, exactly, exactly. I think that's it for the presentation. I hope viewers might like this.
Thank you so much, Shoya, and for this great session. I'm sure these are the key pointers what you talk about in this video, and the tool. I'm sure this can be the game changer in 2024. And those who watching this video, do let me know. Shall we disturb again, Shoria, for another topic, another interesting topic? And I'm sure, because we have reached out to the team, and I truly appreciate the way the team has handled the things, and thanks for coming on a short note. And today is basically 29, and I know this is a time of party mood, but this guy is here in this session, so we should appreciate that. And do let us know that, okay, what is the next topic you want me to discuss with Shaurya? Okay, Shaurya has a great knowledge on application security and pen testing, cyber security, and all that. We love to explore more information on this area. So, Shaurya, before we wind up, okay, any last minute advice for the people who watching this video, and those who want to, and can we share that link of SquareX product in the description?
Sure,
So if someone want to download,
sure,
they can
sure,
download that.
sure,
And
sure.
if you're okay with that on a gunpoint, I'm saying for me, the gunpoint is this online session. So can I share your LinkedIn profile?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely.
people want to reach out to you for any queries, so they
Sure,
can
sure,
reach out to
sure.
you directly.
Sure, sure, sure. Feel free to share that. No issues with that.
That's great. So any last minute advice, how to stay safe?
I would say, I'll again come back on the very same line which I said a while back. Have a zero trust model running on your brain. I think nothing better can describe this. So, internet is quite a scary place, not just for an individual, but whoever as a company is using any
Mm,
sort of external services or using any SaaS products. It's quite crucial that you stay a little suspicious on anything new or anything out of pattern that you're seeing. And to 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 be little secured, it's really important that you take this into mind. And if you find
mm.
anything suspicious, just make sure to think twice before opening or downloading it, because no one can save you entirely in this world.
That is basically the great point, and which is basically shared by Shaurya. And I must say that, okay, this can be the game changer. I can say that I never seen such solutions, to be frank, Shaurya. And as we can see, the approach, perspective, and all that, this can be the game changer. Definitely, for sure. And we always say never trust user input, and there's no patch for human stupidity. So
Yes,
we
yes,
have to make sure the way we can able to improve the enterprise and all that is providing training to the employees and having such solutions which can be the game changer.
yes, absolutely. It was great. It was great that you invited us here, and it was pleasure talking to you. And I hope viewers like all the stuff that we talked about interesting.
Definitely, it is really it's really honor for us to have SquareX on this particular platform, and we'll do more videos like that in the future, which bring more awareness to the people. Thank you so much, Shaurya. So this is all
Thank
from our side, team. And if you're looking for more videos like that, do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon to make sure you should not miss the future videos on a similar topic. Thank you. Good day. Bye.
thank you.